Ivory here, and today I'm here to talk about proper application, placing the lash on correctly and getting the best retention rate from placing the lash properly. So stay tuned. Hey, so in this next part, I'm going to do a little demonstration on my dry erase board. I don't have my flash on or my ring light because I don't want the glare from the light with the dry erase board to actually glare off so that you can't see it. So I'll make sure at the end of the video or before the end of the video to actually zoom in so you guys can actually see what I'm actually talking about, okay? So follow along. So the first picture, of course, this is the natural way to place an extension. The red line at the bottom is the natural lash, and of course, the black line on top is the extension. So this is the proper way to place extensions, and these two are the wrong ways to place extensions. So we're going to talk about the wrong way first. A lot of times when we're placing eyelash extensions, we think that the base of the lash is actually adhering to the natural base of the lash, but it's not. So our extension will actually lift up and rise because we actually are not angling our hand correctly to actually catch that lash at the base. So if you're placing it from the top, a lot of the times you'll have this space right here and you won't even be able to see it because from your angle it'll look like it's on. But once you start moving that lash over and going over to the next one, or you do the taping back method, or you do the taping from the side method, you'll actually be able to see that this is not sticking at the base, and that's going to cause for bad retention. Once she goes to brush that lash off, or he goes to brush that lash she be doing after their appointments, that lash will pop off. Next, a lot of the times people try to catch it from the bottom as well. So when you're placing eyelash extensions, note this. You do not always have to place from the top of the lash. If you can catch it from the side of the lash or the bottom of the lash, as long as that base is adhering to the base of the natural lash, you're great to go. So if you're attaching it from the bottom of the lash, a lot of times this space right here will be open, and that is going to cause for bad retention as well. You don't really notice it because in the middle of the lash, because when you do classic extensions or even volume sometimes, you swipe it back of the lash so that it could actually adhere. Remember guys, sometimes I think that when we're doing extensions, we always say less is more, which is correct. Remember that the adhesive is what binds the natural lash and the extension together. So you have to use enough adhesive so that that lash can actually last, grow out, shed off, and be replaced, okay? So if you are trying to catch it from the bottom, you want to make sure that these two bases are actually touching. And the way that you can check to see if these are touching is when you do the pull back method. So when you're doing the taping back method, this will actually pop back. Now this might not actually come off, but it will pop back so that you can see that it's actually not adhering. So I think that every lash tech has this problem. It happens to everyone. It's a really minor, easily fixed in the application. So you might not have to actually do a full removal of this actual one here. You might be able to do the banana split. And as we know, the banana split is when we take our tweezers and grab the natural lash and the extension and pull it apart. You want to be really careful when doing this because if you go to pull, you can pull too hard and the natural lash will pop off as well or rip in half. So you want to be really, really careful with your grips, and you want to make sure that you can actually see what you are doing. So lighting plays a huge role in this as well. Of course, our first picture is the correct picture, and that's the way that you actually want to adhere the lash to it. Whether it's from the side or the bottom, these two bases are aligned, and that's what's going to cause for you to have good retention. So you want to make sure that you're doing an excellent swipe of the glue, and these two bases at the bottom are aligned with each other, that it's resting on top or at the bottom or from the side. The glue, of course, is what's going to bind it together. So this is the proper way to do it. Even with the natural lash, this extension is not too long as well. So this is the correct way to place your lash extensions. Be mindful of this way and this way. Those little spaces are what's going to make or break your retention rate for your clients, and you won't even notice it because it's something minor that can easily be overlooked. This is the correct way, the one at the top, correct with the check. This is the wrong way because these bases are not touching right here. This base and this base is not touching, but in the middle is where the glue rests, and that is what's adhering to the natural lash. Also, if you are trying to attach from the bottom of the lash, this is not right. These in the middle, these two lines, this little space between these two arrows, this is where the glue is resting. That's where it's able to actually adhere and catch that natural lash. So be careful, okay? Whether you're attaching from the top or the bottom, you want to be careful and you want to make sure that these bases are aligned. The next thing that I want to talk about is actually your tweezers. So when you're trying to place the lash onto the extension, onto the natural lash, your tweezers play a huge role. Also isolation, of course. But a lot of times we take a lash class and they give us those pink tweezers. Now, I'm not downplaying the pink tweezers. We've all had them. We've all given them out. But also, I think that as we move forward and we progress into this lash industry, you knowing the proper tweezers to use when lashing is definitely going to help you in the long run, and you teaching as well. So those pink tweezers are not a bad idea. I'm not against it, but I also think that they're isolation tweezers in my eyes. One is curved and one is straight. So I feel like that curved one is a little difficult sometimes for picking up the lash, and so sometimes I think the straight one is also difficult to pick up when picking up eyelash extensions as well. So giving your client the right tweezers to actually pick up and place with, and also isolating with, is definitely imperative to them growing their business and getting better within the industry. So the two that I like to fan out with and to do classic lashes, they're two different tweezers. They almost have the same shape, but the base of them and the grip of them are two different things. But I could also use this for volume as well, but this one, the grip is a lot better. So I actually want to talk about the classic one because we're all starting from somewhere, whether you're doing volume or classic, okay? So we're just going to talk about the classic one for a quick second because it's still the same concept. So when you're placing the lash extension, a lot of the times we pick it up and just try to place it however we can get it. But we don't actually notice that the curve in our hand when trying to actually place it plays a huge role. So if you are dealing with the lashes either straight, curly, they grow into each other, they're somewhat curly, they're semi-straight, they are super curly, anything. A lot of the times we're just trying to adhere it to that natural lash. So wherever the glue picks up basically is where we're actually letting it grip to. Wrong. You actually want to adhere it at that base. So what I advise you to do is actually bending your hand, trying to basically curve your hand into that natural lash, the shape of the natural lash, how you can catch it from the base. A lot of the time we do it this way, but this way is actually one of the proper ways of actually placing our hands. And I'm saying that this way you're able to actually catch the base of that lash instead of you just doing it straight. This way you'll actually be able to place that extension on straight, whether you're catching it from the bottom, the side, or on top. So moving your hand any type of way, it doesn't have to be this way, it doesn't have to be like this, it could be any way. So you moving your hand back and forth or just trying to catch it instead of just doing it one way definitely will play a role into you catching the base of that lash. And it will also help you see if you're actually catching the lash properly, okay? So remember guys, catching it at the base is imperative. It's really important because if you don't catch that lash at that base with that glue, then when the glue dries up, that lash is just gonna fling off, okay? And a lot of times when it flings off, when you're brushing it, you're gonna take off the middle of the natural hair, or the natural hair can come off with it, or it just pop off. Those are the three factors that you have to take into consideration. So please be mindful when you're actually placing the lash on. And make sure you have a good pair of tweezers. These are mine that I use for classic. I love these ones. Make sure you have actually a great pair of tweezers that you can actually lash with, whether you are doing classic or volume. Okay guys, I'm back at the dry erase. I know that the dry erase kind of sucks a little bit because of the lighting, but it's definitely getting my point across, okay? So just bear with me. I'll make sure that I zoom in and explain it a little bit more when I zoom in, but just bear with me and follow along. Okay, so at the top, I have some eyelash extension curl types. As we all know, that these curl types are the curl types, just the generic ones, the basic ones, and some of them are our most popular ones. So J curl, of course, nobody really uses J curl. It's not the most popular. B curl as well. I feel like these two curl types are actually really good to practice with so that you can waste them and you just get the technique and coordination down pat. So I definitely think that these two are not a total bust. But our most popular ones, of course, are C, CC, and D curl, okay? So C curl, the curls are going to be a little bit tighter. As you can see up here, CC curl definitely is going to be a little bit curlier than C curl, and D curl is going to be our curliest, okay? D curl, which is my favorite. So at the bottom, I have some natural lash types, okay? These are just some types that I've seen in my lashing career, okay? So, of course, we have the ones with the straight. We have people who have straight ones, people who have a little curl to it, ones that grow downward, which I hate the most. I hate the ones that grow downward. They're so annoying. And we actually have our curly lashes, okay? So I have straight lashes. A lot of times, you as the tech, you might want to give them a super, super curly one. And you might think in your mind, like, dang, I can't give them a curlier lash because their natural lash is straight. No, you actually can. So don't get discouraged. You just have to use the proper techniques and know what length and what weight is going to go best with this natural lash. So somebody CC. So say that you're giving somebody who has straight lashes and you want to give them CC. So we know that CC is a lot tighter. A lot of times when you're not adhering it properly, you're placing it and the CC is actually looking like this. And your actual lashes, they're a little bit harder to put a curlier lash on, and that's not correct. See, this base right here is not touching, and that is going to cause for you to have bad retention. So if you turn your hands to the proper angle when you're actually placing it and try to align the two bases together, the rest of the lash will actually conform to the actual curl pattern of that extension. And this is where a lot of people go wrong at, these bases, because they're not touching. If you can see, I'm going to zoom in so that you guys can actually see what I'm talking about. And also with the downward lashes as well. So a lot of times we're placing it and that base is still not connecting. One way that I've noticed when trying to catch a downward lash, I actually like to catch it from the side of the lash instead of trying to catch it from the top. Because if you're placing it from the top and it's already going downward, which was going like this, it's actually a lot harder to catch it. So for me, when eyelash, I like to catch it from the side. Even straight lashes, I like to catch it from the side of the lash so that the bases, I can see that the bases are actually aligned with each other and my hand is actually tilted the correct way. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit and I'm going to show you on the actual extension so you guys can see exactly what I mean. So these are just our normal curl patterns, J, B, C, 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 and D. And at the bottom, these are our natural lashes. And on top of these two, these are actually extensions. So this is a straight one with a semi-curl, a downward one, and a curly one. And I just went over to see how, so you can see how these two bases are not aligned. A lot of the times, people are trying to place it on top instead of trying to place it maybe from the side, or they're not turning their hand properly when trying to catch the lash. They're just trying to do it awkwardly. And also for downward, a lot of times, a lot of lash techs probably don't even know how to catch a downward lash. For me, you turn your hand the right way on the right angle, and I also like to catch it from the side instead of gripping it from the top of the lash. Hey guys, so as you can see here, you can see that I have placed some extensions on here. I use 0.15 just to show you a demonstration, and I've tightened some of the curls and I've actually loosened some of the curls. So we're going to say this is the tightest one, and we're going to say this is the loosest one. This is the semi-straight one, and these two are just the regular curls. Okay, so we're just going to do a quick demonstration, and I'm going to show you how you can properly place it. Okay, so for my demonstration, of course, I'm going to use my Eyelash liquid gold adhesive. This is just a demonstration. So I have all different type of lash types sitting here, and I just want to show you guys how I properly would adhere it. So of course, I'm using my Eyelash classic trays. This is in D curl. This is 12 millimeters, and I'm only doing 12 so that you guys can actually see what I'm talking about. And I'm doing 0.18s because I will actually want you to see the difference. Okay, so when I say that, it's all about the way you're actually holding your extension. So I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. Swipe my glue in, give me enough. And you see there's no dots at the end, but it's all in. So a lot of times if your angle is not right, we're going to start with the curly one. If your angle is not right, you'll be placing the extension on just like that. If you can see closely, there is a space in between. There's a tiny space in between. I'm actually going to lift up the paper. I'm sorry I don't have my mannequin, guys. I actually left it at home by an accident. But as you can see here, the lashes are not sticking at the bottom, but it's sticking from the middle of the lash. And that's where a lot of times when we think our extensions is actually adhering to it, and it's really not. If you can see, it's not coming off. So let's do the next one. So if you come into turn, the base won't be sticking. The base won't be sticking. It'll look like it's sticking because it's super close, but it's not. So let me zoom up for you guys so you guys can actually see what I mean. So right here, that base right here, that's actually not sticking. Okay, I'm gonna tip my hand just a smidge. And as you can see, that the lash is actually aligned with it. I could have got a little closer at the base, but we're going to say that this is the eyelid and this is the hair actually coming out of the root, okay? And for this one that's semi-straight, I'm going to turn my wrist just a smidge. Just so I can catch it and align my hand up with it. And I like to do the stabbing method, whether it's volume or classic. I like to do the stabbing method to actually make sure, this is the stabbing method, I actually push down on it to actually make sure that that bottom of that base is actually touching and is actually adhering to it. See, it's not. So let's try it again. Let's stab it. Boom. Perfect alignment. That stabbing method will actually help you out a lot because it's actually you pushing a little bit of force onto the base of that lash. So for tuning in. I hope this video is actually beneficial to somebody within your lash career, whether you're trying to get more knowledgeable or you're just starting out. There's not enough information that you can have when actually lashing. So there's a lot of things to take into place when we're talking about retention. This video is actually to help you with retaining your client's lashes. There's a lot of things to take into consideration. A lot of them can come from your client and a lot of them can come from your technique. This video is discussing your technique. So when you're talking about your client, of course, cleaning comes into place. So you as the tech, you should definitely be educating your client, whether you are telling them to actually buy a cleanser from you, if you're wholesaling from somebody, if you're making your own cleanser, if they're using soap and water. You should definitely be educating your clients on how to properly clean their lashes, use the sweat and the natural oils from your face. There's a lot of things to come into consideration. Sleeping properly, working out, wearing the right equipment. I advise all my clients, if you work out, to wear a sweatband. Let's catch that extra sweat. So there's a lot of things that you have to take into consideration when you're actually trying to give your clients the best retention. And if you have any questions, drop them below. I got my laptop back. So I'm back on YouTube. So guys, follow me on Instagram. My page is Eyelash Lashes. And if you have any questions or any inquiries on a class with me, please guys shoot me an email. And I look forward to coming back on here and talking with you again.